So I think God made it pretty clear from the beginning that he was going to use Wham in some very unconventional ways. Think about it. We started off in a lumberyard, and not just in a lumberyard, in the corner of a showroom of a lumberyard. It doesn't get any more unconventional than that. And he also made it clear that he was going to be using some unconventional people in Wham and in that community. And I was one of those people. So I'll take you back to January 2nd, 2011. In fact, before that, I think calling me an atheist would be an understatement. I just wasn't an atheist. I was somebody who hated God. I hated the idea of God. I didn't like Christians, and I didn't like what they stood for. And more often than not, I was the guy that would argue with Christians just to shake them up, just to see how riled up I could get them. So I'm going to take you back to 2008, fresh out of the Marines and fresh into college, pursuing my degree in philosophy and trying to find the truths in the world. And looking back, that's really when I felt God moving in my life. He introduced me to this guy named Daniel Sinopoli, who, complete opposite of me, but somehow we became like best friends. And through my sin and through my hatred, this guy continued to show God's love to me. So I talked about how God moves in unconventional ways. During that time, I couldn't even find a job, even with my skills in the military. So Daniel introduced me to Mark Smith. And through God's wisdom, Mark saw fit to hire me at Willowbrook, even though I was an atheist. So for the next year, it seemed like life was filled with worldly failures. Loss of friendships, loss of family relationships, finding no truth in philosophy. As time went on, I began to break. So I always said I would never come to Christ unless I felt this spirit that all these Christians talked about. Well, on January 2nd, 2011, that happened. As Kevin Perry was called in the invitation, I was walking out the door, and I felt a spiritual presence stop me in my tracks and turn me back up the aisle. So on that day, I gave my life to Christ, and I've been following him ever since. And I can say that it's been completely unconventional. 2 years into my faith, he sent me to plant a church. I found my wife in the same church. And now here we are, back in Huntsville, serving in Wham. So without the support of Willowbrook, and especially the Madison campus, I would be telling a much different story today.